They are the curse, the men and women who have to fight the beast inside every full moon. Yet sometimes when you're watching a werewolf movie, why does it feel like you're the one who's cursed? Maybe because things like Twilight aren't exactly helping audiences take werewolves seriously. Crappy screenwriting has been the proverbial silver bullet when it comes to recent werewolf films, but believe it or not, there are some excellent werewolves out there being written by excellent writers. With Halloween just around the corner, let's take a look at the top 5 well-written werewolves, I love alliteration, on this, the Real School Countdown. Number 5, Remus Lupin, the Harry Potter franchise. Okay, so he has a bit of an advantage being a part of a best-selling anthology and a record-breaking movie franchise. In actuality, it's a disadvantage because I don't know if you've noticed, but Potterheads are pretty hardcore and oftentimes can be judgmental because if a character in the film is nothing like the character in the book, they're definitely going to judge them and the writing that created them. And he's a character that plays so many important roles within the franchise. Remus is introduced in the films as the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, an often mysterious and sinister position within the world of Harry Potter. But with that position comes something that well-written werewolves should also do. The character is hiding something. But throughout the entire anthology, Remus really becomes so much more to both Harry and the audience. The werewolf half of his personality is almost a side story. It's almost unimportant because he's a surrogate father figure to Harry. He's a mentor, a fighter, a teacher, and the only person to teach Harry the very important Patronus. In a brilliant yet subtle piece of character acting and writing, the brilliant yet subtle David Thewlis gives you so much in Remus. His hidden turmoil, his hidden pain, his protective nature of Harry, and the fact that he feels that he just doesn't fit in. Okay, so he was subtle before Wonder Woman. Number 4, Ginger Snaps. I'd just like to point out that we're 2 werewolves into this list and neither one of them is American. In London or Paris. No, it took a low-budget film shot in beautiful downtown Brampton with no CGI, no A-list actors to actually become the 5th highest-grossing Canadian film of all time. I'm not exactly selling this film or the Canadian film industry, am I? But this movie has so much going for it because it's not your middle-of-the-road budget B-movie horror film. It actually has what very few what very few films in general have, and that's effective subtext. On the surface, it looks like a story about jaded Gen Xers, but underneath, it's about sexual awakening, puberty, and 2 tight-knit sisters drifting apart. The screenwriter, Karen Walton, was actually even hesitant to write this film in the first place. Walton was afraid that she was going to write a film that would undoubtedly create more horror film tropes, and that included weak women, an unfortunate side effect of most horror films, but the fact is, she didn't. She wrote a brilliant screenplay, which created a brilliant indie horror film, and I think made Canada proud. Number 3, Will Randall, Wolf. On a side note, I don't know how many times I've been flipping through the TV guide, seen Wolf, got really excited, and then realized it's Blitzer on CNN. And even though Wolf Blitzer looks like a werewolf librarian, I'm talking about the underrated Mike Nichols film. That's right, the guy who directed The Graduate did a modern-day werewolf film set in New York. This film is a lot of fun though. The way that Will's lycanthropy unravels, his superhuman sense of smell and hearing, the way he plays with it, the way his confidence grows as the wolf begins to take over. It's really well put together. Kudos goes to not only the writing of this film and the wit that goes with it, but the fun performances as well. Nicholson was seemingly born to play a werewolf, and kudos also goes to James Spader for playing a slimy, antagonistic version of a werewolf, something you've never really seen before. I actually think that Wolf is one of the best werewolf films set in not so modern day. Number 2, Oz, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. From one of the best 90s movie werewolves to one of the best 90s TV werewolves. True real students would of course know that it's no surprise that I'm including a Whedonverse character. Yes, even after all the controversy, the man is still a good writer. But you may be surprised that Oz was only in that show for just over 2 seasons. But the 5'4" Seth Green made a big impact in a small amount of time, and his dry wit and impeccable timing made Oz a character to remember, and gave Oz some of the best lines in a very well-written show. And not just some of the best jokes either. What I like about Oz and any Buffy characters, they were never really pushed aside. They were always there, they were always contributing, they were always important. And that's a tribute to the writing team of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and how they can handle an ensemble cast. And what they also didn't push to the side was the fact that he was a werewolf, because it often influenced the character and the decisions he made. Like when he left Willow in the 4th season and I'm still kind of not over it. Number 1, Ethan Chandler, Penny Dreadful. You think having Oz for only 2.5 seasons was a tease? Try just getting into a superbly written and beautiful Victorian Gothic fantasy drama, and then in only 3 seasons having your hopes dashed away. Better to have loved and lost, I suppose, but you get the idea. I always wanted to like Josh Hartnett, but the films that he chose for the most part weren't that great. And when he was in fantastic films, he was never the best thing about it. But it wasn't until he played Ethan Chandler that I found not only can this guy really act, but he was one of the most interesting characters. Not to mention, much like Nicholson, don't you think this man was just born to play a werewolf? What I particularly loved about the entire run of this show was how the literary and cinematic source material was taken and then twisted. Chandler's character specifically had a fantastic arc over all 3 seasons. Secret after secret was slowly revealed layer by layer, and it really kept me interested. As much as you can lament the 3rd season, the writers did have a vision. They took inspiration from Shelley, Stoker, Clare, and Shakespeare, and when you're familiar with those writers, you're familiar with greatness. Agree or disagree with the list? Leave your picks for top 5 in the comments section below. But until next time, school's out. Hey Real students, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe to Real School, click that round Real School logo right beside me. Also click that damn notification bell so you're aware of all of Real School's new content. You can follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link in the description below or the button down there, and you can become part of my Patreon team.